So in this video, I'm going to show you how to set up your scenes. If you haven't done your storyboard, you probably should have it by now. Okay, it's really important, or you should adapt your storyboard. I won't go over the storyboard process in here because we've discussed it in class. And for anybody who's just looking these up, you can find how-tos very easily. The main goal is the storyboard should show, not tell you what. So by looking at the scenes, you should know what's happening, or should get a sense of the theme or the story that you're outlining. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Unreal Engine project, which has already been set up. So I had selected this scene and I had selected these characters. As you remember, in the mannequin folder, I had used this night, and I have 2 or 3 animations that I had selected. And so I'm just going to show how to set up a couple of scenes using that. Now, one of the things you may want to do is look in your project and scroll around for scenes that you want. Maybe you want something in the village, and we're going to just press W and left mouse click, and let's go right here. So I'm very happy with this right here. And so why don't I just have a scene where he's sitting. Well, he kind of looks silly just sitting there, but you could also just get one where he's idle. Let's double check. Do I have the idle brought in yet? I'll just bring it in. So I just dragged the idle animation that I had downloaded in. So it was very easy, as you can tell. I'll just delete him, press delete, and I just dragged him in like that. And what you're basically doing is, based on how you want to tell your story, maybe you start, normally most stories start with a long shot or a distant shot like this. All right, so maybe you want to set up your scene like that and already get ready to film. So the first thing we're going to do, well, let's save our project just in case. Save all, and click save all down here. And one of the things we need to do is, because we're going to be using the new render queue that's available since version 4.25, because I find it is so much better at giving quality renders. So what you're going to do is, under edits, under plugins, you're going to type in movie render queue. Now it's probably not enabled, so what you can do is click enable, and you're going to have to restart your project. Okay, so I have it enabled in mine. So what I'm going to do now is go and get it under Windows, Cinematics. You'll see it's not there if you didn't add it, but I did add it. So I'm going to click movie render, and it might be loose somewhere. I like putting it here, but you can put it wherever you want. You shouldn't leave it floating though. You definitely want to dock it somewhere, okay, like here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start with a really long. So I created my sequence. Sorry, I missed it in the video, but you go under Cinematics, add sequence, and name it. So what you're going to see is a blank sequence show up. And what we want to do now is add a camera. So there's several ways to add a camera, but this is the simplest, because what happens is it doesn't add it to all your scenes. It's only visible in this. So this, whoops, wrong button. We want to click this one. So it's going to add a camera. This is what the camera sees. And if you see here, pilot active, what that means is whatever you move around and you start recording, it'll show this. So in other words, this is what you're actually seeing. And I find that it's, let's say when you start a scene like this, you want some type of panoramic shot. And then we're going to move into the character. I know he's over here. So you also need to know where your characters are. And one easy way to find out where is he is you just type the name, click on him, there he is. If you have all this kind of writing in like this stuff, you don't see it in this panel, but if you're in a different view, I'll just show you here, you can have 2 layouts. So maybe you have perspective mode, which is the normal mode of viewing stuff. And you can do stuff and manipulate it. And over here, just go to your cinematic camera actor. And so you can move stuff around, like your character or whatever it is you need, and then film right after. It's very, very useful because you can just do that. And I find it easiest to just have one panel, so I'm just going to go back to one layout here, and I'm going to click on here because this always gets undone. Go to Cinema Camera Actor, So now I'm in my scene. I'm going to start my video over here. So one of the things that you need to do is basically create keyframes. So I'm going to say, just for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to create my first keyframe at the beginning. So not over here. Make sure my playhead is at the beginning. I'm going to just press put it on. Okay. Now you could do it automatically, but I find that for beginners it's just easier to just add them yourself. So my scene will start there, and then I'm going to go to 10 seconds. And one of the things that I should mention is potentially you don't see this here, and this is really important. I'm going to just go on top here. You want to make sure that the time is as seconds. Okay, so that's where you do that. I just find for it, so I know that this is about 11 seconds. And one of the things you need to do is kind of experiment. Maybe you'll film it and you'll find, oh my God, 10 seconds was really not enough. So what you do is you come down here and you change it to 15. So you just type it, okay? It's just easiest. And now you'll see it lengthened it. And because, like I said, we're using the advanced movie render queue, we're going to do each clip and export it. And then immediately start editing it in Premiere Pro, okay? So here you go. So I'm going to go down now. I got my, and then I'm going to go to the roughly the end. And I'm going to make sure my pilot is active. And I'm going to just scroll towards where my character is. Make sure you know, and it doesn't matter right now as long as what you're focusing though is what will it look like, okay? And maybe you want to have, you know, your rule of thirds on and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to go and zoom all the way over here. I'm happy with that. Then I'm going to press the keyframe and immediately check it, okay? So we're going to check for both time and look. So I press the space bar. I go back to the first frame, press the space bar. So it's nice and slow. So what I'm doing is thinking, is this too slow? Does this look good? Am I happy with this? Does it communicate what I'm trying to communicate? I'm going to say yes, okay? So I know it works. So what I'm going to do now is click Save. I'm going to go to the content browser under Cinematics. So I may not have mentioned this, but you definitely should be creating a folder called Cinematics if it doesn't exist. And there's my first movie, okay? So I need to find the sequence that I just created. And I also made sure to save it, right? You saw that? And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to immediately export it for render, okay? Now you'll look online, you won't see a lot of people doing it this way, but most of them are doing it the old technique where the renders are lower quality. And I do each one at a time, and make sure that you have room on whatever hard drive it is you're exporting it to. And if you need a portable hard drive, it might be a good idea if you don't have a lot of room on your computer. Now, I don't always expand this, but I'll do it just for your sake so that you can see. So what you do here is you've installed this, as I mentioned earlier, and I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to just send it out as a JPEG sequence, 8-bit, which is good enough for our class. And I'm going to add anti-aliasing, okay? Because what this does is it basically increases the quality of your renders. And I'm going to click Override Anti-Aliasing. But what it'll do is if you don't put this, I could show you some case examples, but the characters will look fuzzy or color will be off and so on. So what we're doing is we're not exporting just a movie file. We're exporting several photos, like hundreds of photos. And we're going to bring those into a sequence in Premiere Pro. So now I go to my output settings, and before I do anything else, I need to select a folder, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create right away a folder for my project. So I'm going to go down here. I'm going to go new folder, and I'll call it Dubo Premiere Pro Video, okay? I'm going to create that, and inside there, I'm going to create a new folder. So 2 folders. I'm going to go Scene 1. So remember, you're following your storyboard that you've roughly created. So you should know roughly how many scenes you have. Maybe it's about 8. And, you can tweak these, but it's very, very important to plan them ahead of time. So I'm going to select that folder. Now it's selected. So I'm going to repeat that. Make sure because you're about to send about 400 photos just randomly somewhere if you don't do this carefully. Now leave the defaults, which is 1080p, which is good enough for our school. And if you are doing this at home, you have a fancy computer, you can change this to 4K, but for us, it's good enough. So I'm going to just click accept. And now I'm going to click render. This will take a little while, and it might crash. So what you want to do is save it all first. And and it's important to keep these sort of short, 10 to 15 seconds, not longer. You can do 2 seconds, obviously. I'm going to click render, and you'll see this start rendering. Okay? This will take about 5 minutes. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to begin creating your Premiere project to already begin editing. And in essence, I'm only going to show you how to do one clip because you should just figure out what it is you want to do for your renders. I might do one with the character just to show you how to do the animation. Okay, if you have any questions, please let me know.